So my grandmother decided to build a school. And
Your grandmother decided to build the school?
My grandmother decided to build a school so that we wouldn't have to, go walk an hour to school. And they made those clay bricks. So I remember my memory.
Wait a second. You didn't tell me the story before.
No,
that's insane.
It's all handmade. This is the true handmade brick. We are seeing maybe 2 or 3 new projects in the office that are in that 40-story plus. Back from a rectangle of a school in brick to seeing a 40-story tower. It's crazy.
Welcome again to another episode of DC Talks. I'm your host, David Chinelli. Double O's taking a back seat for this one. We have a great show for you today. I got a special guest with me, Mr. Eduardo Ortiz, or some of you call Antonio.
Yeah, that's right.
Either way. So Antonio is an architect. We met, I guess, a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
right?
It's got to be a good 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. We met through a mutual friend. You came to a house, and then we realized that there's another mutual friend of ours that we were out for his birthday.
Yeah.
And we got to get along, and then we've had cigar nights ever since.
Cigar nights. We both like to hang around good people.
Yeah, that's right. So it was good. So a little bit of Antonio. Antonio is an architect. So we want to talk a little bit about your business, how you got involved in it, because there's a lot of people that they watch a show or they listen to it because they want to hear the inspiration from other people that if you've created business as entrepreneurs or how they got into it. And that's kind of I wanted to have you on the show because your designs are amazing. And I love it. So this is one of the reasons why I haven't had an architect. So you're the first.
I'm the first one. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so you're the name of the company is Architect Unfolded, right?
Architecture Unfolded Inc.
Yeah. So and how did that start?
Well, we have a lot of great architects in the city. There's a lot of good pieces of architecture in Toronto, like the TD Center, for example, by Mies van der Rohe. And lately, a lot of architects have been coming in to do what they call signature architecture. Mm-hmm. How I got started, most people would tell you that it was, when you went to high school, something happened, and then you decided to, explore, creative, and take that road. You know what? In my case, my story starts when I was about 10 years old, because I grew up in a small town in El Salvador, and school was very remote. It was probably one hour away walking. So my grandmother decided to build a school and to bring a teacher. And
your grandmother decided to build a school?
My grandmother decided to build a school so that we wouldn't have to, go walk an hour to school. And so they built that with clay bricks. And they made those clay bricks on the patio because they're sand baked. That there's no ovens or anything. They actually bake them in the sun. So I remember my memory.
Wait a second. You didn't tell me the story before.
No,
that's insane. So they would make the mold and it would just be sun baked and they let them sit over there. What kind of materials are in that?
It's red clay. They would just mine the clay from one of the hills there and bring it to a mixer. It's all handmade. This is the true handmade brick. So this handmade bricks and the experience of just, pushing on the clay and seeing this material, come into an actual brick that then was used to build what was a box, literally. It was a rectangle, but it was really cool, to see that happen. And I think that kind of stuck with me as a really a memory that marked my my persona. And then when it was time to do something, I always knew that it had to do with building. I thought it was engineering, but then I discovered lately that it was more the creative side of building. Mm-hmm. So when I was in a position to choose, I kind of went into architecture. So it was a very easy decision for me because I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So that's just from a personal interest in architecture.
Yeah.
I don't know if your question was more how did architecture unfolded.
No, it's part of the journey too. So that's and then
It's a journey, exactly.
so did you like to become an architect? Like, obviously, you went to school. Like, and where did you go to school to get the architectural license, and how did that work?
So I was fortunate. I went to school here, even though I came from another country. It's a lot more difficult when you have your training somewhere else and you're trying to get your education validated here. In my case, I went to school here. I took a path that was a little bit longer than usual because I graduated high school through in the 90s when we had that mild recession, and a lot of people were saying, don't go and to get an architectural degree because architects are unemployed. What we really want is craftsmen. We want people with a technical degree. So I first went to college to get my architectural technology. I worked on a site building, which is what I wanted to do. And then after, I decided that I should go back and pursue architecture and get my degree so that I could open more doors and eventually at some point do something on my own, which was, again, another thing that I kind of had in the back of my mind that at some point, yes, I need to work for a company, but I wanted to have the freedom to do something on my own. It didn't happen entirely on my own because I actually teamed up with a partner. My partner, Mark Zwicker, him and I, we formed what is now Architecture Unfolded.
And how long was that? Did you guys create the business?
That was in 2010.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're going to be 15 years, coming up.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
it seems like it was yesterday. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So, and I've obviously, like, if you haven't seen his website, go check the website. It's pretty cool. But what would you be like? There's a lot of projects on there too. So first of all, you do mostly, I know you do some, you built your own house, which I've been in, which is amazing. But do you do mostly commercial, or do you do it for buildings or residential? It's a mix of the two.
Look, we do a little bit of everything. Like right now, we have a mix of different things. We're working on a school feasibility. We've done some additions to institutional buildings. We finished an office building, 5-story, close by here, close to the neighborhood, and we do quite a bit of commercial, but really the core of our business is residential.
Yeah,
we do a lot of multi-unit residential work, and that ranges from a stacked townhome 4 stories to we got a 48-story tower that we're doing working drawings for in North York. So it's changed. Like it just it goes by levels. I find you break the 6-story mark, you do an 8-story building, all of a sudden you start to get more 8-story buildings. Then when we broke ground into the 20s, then we started to get more projects in the 20-story height, because every project it's its own nature and requires a certain level of experience and skill. So now that we're at a level, what do we say, the next level, which was 40 plus, we are seeing maybe 2 or 3 new projects in the office that are in that 40-story plus.
That's amazing.
So it's amazing. To think back from a rectangle of a school in brick to seeing a 40-story tower, it's crazy.
Do you find any different challenges? Like, so for an 8-story, if you're buying, for example, condos, most of the time the floors are the same floor pattern. Is that what you're saying? So it's easier to go up if you already did an 8, you can probably do a 40. Is it that you're finding, or is there different challenges, I guess, with wind and things like that, with how the structure is? Is like, what do you find?
Definitely. It's the buildings are classified by size, by square footage, and the requirements for an 8-story building, even the constructability of an 8-story building, it's different than that of a 20-story or higher than 20-story. That's why you'd see in the market that there are a lot of developers that would specialize in a certain niche. They do only tall towers because they don't have the efficiency to do a 6-story, an 8-story building. While we have clients that they always look for that sweet spot, 8, 6 stories, but having a certain context, and that's what they're good at.
Yeah.
So very different in terms of complexity.
So for your style, would you classify your architecture as a style, or like how would you, if somebody said to you, like, okay, you do architecture, well, what type of architecture do you build?
I don't know that it's a certain style per se. I think that we've always said that our architecture is playful, is about storytelling, and that has to do with context a lot. Because every client, believe it or not, when they acquire a piece of land, there's something that's very special to them about it. You'd think that it's not, because they may, go through, 3 different projects in a year, but there's something close to their heart about a particular project, and everyone has that. And not only a developer, but also somebody that's doing a restaurant or somebody that's doing their own home. It's even more so. And I find that, once you start to listen, and listening is a big part of what we do, because
Big part of what I do too. It's huge.
you want to make sure that that you're touching the emotional, and that's where I said that the playful thing comes in, because I think that we all have that kid in ourselves that it's the fun side of what we do, and when you kind of discover the emotional side that touches the client on a particular project, and then you put in all the technicalities of okay, we got to get all the bylaw done, we got to get all the OBC stuff done. That's the technical part. But getting this sense of a context that is not very pragmatic, but it has to do more with emotions. I think it's that's why I said that I don't know if I would call it a style, but I think it's something that touches the 5 senses. And I always said that I like to design architecture that is playful, and that actually came from one of my professors in university, who would give us an assignment and tell us, okay, this is your assignment. Where people would go through the process, and they would say, well, you met all the requirements, so now go and have fun with it and design it again, right? And that pushes you to to be more creative about what you do. So I think that if you design something in that fashion, you always end up with something that's very unique and is very authentic and very tailored to a particular client, a particular end user. Because the last thing that you want is to do what it's done sometimes, which is just cut and paste.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of that going on.
Oh, there's a ton. There's a street down here, like off of what's closer. My brother's office. Sorry, his building's at Jane and Bloor, and I remember I was seeing property there a couple of years ago, and there was one architect that did these more modern.
Right.
Every other home was exactly the same. It kind of took away from the modern flair of the house, because it was like he changed a little bit here and there, but he built like about 15 houses on this small street, and I was like, it lost its touch. It was cut and paste.
Yeah.
It was kind of brutal. Obviously, you built your own home, so it must be one of your favorite, I guess, designs, right?
It's a really good experience. Yeah. I've done it a couple of times, but
But is there one of your projects, which do you like, whether it's commercial or residential, besides your home, that you find they always revert to, that's like, oh, I love that piece. I love that piece of architecture I created. Is there one that stands out to you?
Yes, I more than one. I think it's and I think one is the building that I mentioned before, the office building that we designed for one of our clients right here at Kipling and Andas. It was the first on the block. It just was conceived over, I would say, a couple of meetings with the client, understanding what he wanted, and it was just clear. It was just clear, and there's nothing better than working with a client that pays for the expertise and also appreciates that you listen and is receptive to proposals. There will always be feedback, and that's part of the process. It's one of the things that I love about what I do is trying to understand the wants and find a solution for them, so that ultimately you end up with something that makes the client happy and also makes you proud. So I think the office building, the IC Savings headquarters, right here on Dundas, it's one of my favorites.
Now I'm going to pay attention. It's down the street. I've never really paid that. And I'm going to go back driving. I'm like, there's Eduardo's building right there. I can see what it's like. Is there anything would stand out? Is there a different color to it? It's like, I don't know if I've actually noticed it or not. I haven't driven by there in a little while.
Yeah, I think it's number one. We did a lot of integration with energy efficiency, and to the point that very early on they decided that they were going to take that the long way and turn it into a LEED building. So we actually got LEED certified LEED gold on that building.
That's amazing.
And and it's for an end user, so they were going to use it. So they were a little bit more open to spend a little bit more to get a quality building. So it's like a contemporary take on the office building, but it's also a little bit transitional, I would say. It fits in well in the context.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now back to your home. Somebody in general, like I'm just saying, like I don't know how long it took you to build your home, but say somebody comes up to you and Eduardo, I want to put an offer on the house, right? I want to knock down this house. But I want you to build me the structure. And on general, how long does it take from, somebody engaging with you until, on average, I know every house is different. If you're not going to committee of adjustments, for example, because that could be like years. So if we're not going to committee adjustments, we're going pretty much on spec, whatever it's going to be in the natural area. How long does it usually take from shovel to the ground till they can actually move in? Technically, how long does that usually take?
I would say for the average home, about a year and a half.
And that includes your process too, right? So,
Yeah.
So somebody says to you, they engaged you right at the beginning and said, okay, I bought this property. I want this. Let's go. So about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much of that is during the building process? Would you say would be the planning process is obviously we talk about like in Toronto, how there's a lot of red tape now in Toronto. And so we're talking about Toronto, not outside Toronto. Would you say about 6 months would be the red tape and then the building about a year? Or what would you say or is the building the whole process about a little longer than
Yeah, so if you're doing a specification home where you have it agreed upon that you're going to do something, and it's good to go, no changes, substantial changes. There are always changes, but I would say, you can get it done in a year.
Yeah.
Because as a
Really?
builder, you want to be in and out.
Yeah.
Right. Where you end up seeing a lot of time spent is at the later stages when it comes to selecting finishes. And if the client wants to take care of that part, sometimes it can take as long as the time that it took to build the shell. So we've learned that the houses that we've done for clients, we've always timed them to drywall ready to paint. We say that's how much we can control. We can control. We'll get it to you enclosed. Windows will be in. Drywall will be ready to paint. Then if you're going to take a month to select the paint color, then we'll work with you on that. And then the appliances, the countertops, like everything else that has to do with finishes, it's a process that takes a lot more time, I find. Yeah. And if somebody wants something unique, you want to give it that time to make sure that they're 200% happy with their selections. So,
well, the one biggest thing we noticed when Natalie and I built our last kitchen, which was like 2018, we had to buy the appliances first, like most of the people, because and that was our second kitchen, so we kind of knew this already. The first time we had no idea. Like, don't you just use standard stuff? They're like, no, every appliance can be different. Everyone has certain specs, the way they go. So it was like, so I always tell people, well, you want to build, if you want to have some ideas, sure, engage with somebody to do your kitchen, but like, they can't start building it until you know what kind of appliances you have, which can also set you back. So frankly, if you wanted a Wolf stove, sometimes you're waiting 6 to 8 months to get a Wolf stove if that's the one you want, right? So that also might put a wrench in your appliance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Throws everything off. So since you've been in architecture, one of the questions I have here is like my little questions. Have you seen, has there been a lot of changes you've seen in architecture since you started, basically maybe 14 years, 15 years ago? And where do you see the trends going in today? So how did it transition from about 15 years ago? And where are you seeing the trends today?
Yeah, a lot of changes. I think that I went many from different angles. I think that let's start with design. I think the appreciation for design and the sophistication of people appreciating good quality design has definitely improved, and the expectations are higher. Buyers, if they're going to a house, are more sophisticated into what they want. And it's not just about, putting a cable in a box anymore and, just throw it on the market, because there are comparables, there's quality, there's better products, better technology that goes into the building of the walls of a house. Because you're going to pay for that maintenance. Why not appreciate the fact that pay a little bit more if you got better windows? Pay a little bit more if you have a better wall assembly. It's a lot of things that people used to not see, because they just care more about how good the stone looked in the kitchen and how nice the bathrooms were. But I find that now people are more well versed with the technical part of things, and that's changed.
I would also say the quality of the product too, like what you're putting in there. Like a lot of people are pushing back. They don't want to put MDF in things, and it's like no, they want more of like higher end quality products. So it's like, and it makes sense, right?
Everybody wants a solid, wood doors. So it's quality definitely has changed, and also we've learned to live more compact. I have clients that are downsizing from 10,000 square foot homes into half. Into a 5,000 square foot home.
Still pretty big home. But
still pretty big home. But when you consider that they are actually cutting back, half the
poor
size.
Guys, hey, living in Playful. I feel bad for somebody living in a 5,000 square foot home. My heart goes out to you.
But even in condos, look at condos to remain competitive. I used to design when I first started. I remember that we used to design one bedrooms at 700 square feet. And we thought, okay, this is small. And then now we're designing 2 bedrooms, less than 700 square feet.
Yeah.
So
there were some recent ones we had. There were 698 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. Mm-hmm. That's like, you go inside, like people don't really conceptualize how small that is, because they're like you said, and I've heard of people getting the keys and are like, oh my God, I didn't realize how small it was. I'm like, well, we've told you, like you want to almost map it out for somebody on the floor, how it looks. Like again, they're rental property, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. But I've heard other people, I've heard horror stories. It's like, well, I thought we were getting a 3 bedroom. We didn't realize it was under 1,000 square feet. I was like, they're tiny.
Yeah, but I think that's talking about the trend. I think that's where the trend is going in houses, in condo properties. People are looking at not just the extent of the 4 walls. They're looking at the neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not going to be living within those 4 walls. They may not require to have a balcony. Mm-hmm. They may take, a break in the price from not having a balcony in a condo, knowing that there is more of a common terrace, for example, where they can be more with, have a stronger sense of community. Mm-hmm. Then just have a little 5x10 space where most of the time just sits, empty. Yeah. And looking at the neighborhood as the extension of their space. So I think location's always been important, as you would tell me. Yep. But I think now more than ever, there's a stronger trend to just being in the right place, even if you're going to have a more compact living space.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. We're doing that for my mom. Like she's in a 5,000 square foot home now, and we're moving her. She got one of the ones in condos at off of the Humbertown there, and it's 2,000. It's like, well, it's kind of shocked her system. Like 2,000 is still good size, right? But
still a good size.
Yeah, it's a really good size condo, and it's like But again, we were like, you're gonna be close to us. You're close here. You don't have to keep everything. Like it's like you don't have to have 3 freezers anymore because like literally they have the grocery store down there. You don't need to have like a gym in your house because you literally have one in the condo. You don't have to, you go walking, you do this exactly like shops and restaurants, everything are so close by. It was an easy sell for like, I didn't even have to sell it. It was like, because of the area, it's like, we're making that, it's a huge difference, difference. Yeah. I also find the larger the home, the more maintenance you have to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
More maintenance,
more taxes,
the more money you have to spend furnishing it.
oh my God. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 5 minutes. Yeah. So we just got the 5-minute warning. See, I told you it was going to fly by. You're like, hey.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Eduardo off air. He's like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about your business. I'm so excited. Like, this is like, we always talk. We have cigars a lot. And we hang out. We like our scotches as well. I'm like, your favorite Valentine? Is that what your favorite? Like, we always have a good Valentine when we're together.
yeah.
Or Balwini.
Balwini.
Yeah, Balwini. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
So we talked about a little bit of designs. If you find that more of your modern designs are they going up, or is it more like you said, the transitional ones? I find transitional homes have a good lasting power, but we see like it's more modern houses like the 90s or something like that too. They don't hold as well as the new modern homes seem like they last much. Like it's a different design in modern home, but it looks like it can last for 20 or 30 years because of the designs
More timeless.
sophisticated.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I had people that said that my house looks modern inside, and I say it's minimalist, which is not ultra modern, but when you look at it, it's more transitional, really. Looking at it from the street, but it kind of blends in, nicely. I don't think I've been one to really ever just design for the look. Like to say, I just want to do a glass house because it looks ultra modern, and I know architects love glass and big glass.
Yeah, big glass.
But I think that it needs to meet, again, going back to it needs to meet the needs of the client. Like one of the things that always gets me is people that buy the big house with windows and then they move in and the first thing that they do is to put screens everywhere. It's for a certain, personality, right? Like if you're one that, don't want to see, don't want your neighbors to see in at any time of the day, then maybe a house with big windows is not for you. So
surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that if you can definitely do a nice, and I'm doing one nice big house in York Mills right now. It's like which another thing that we talked about. A lot of clients will come in and tell you, give you a piece of work from a certain architect and say, here, I want you to design me something exactly like it. Well, we're not going to design something exactly like it. We're going to make it personal, and we're gonna tailor it for you. But it was a lot of glass, and part of the challenge there was trying to balance where to put the glass and making sure that he still ended up with his glass house, but he didn't feel like he was living in a fishbowl, and applying the right proportions of glass. So there are ways of again creating something that is unique and authentic without subscribing to a particular style, I think.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
All right, so in just wrapping up, I guess, like, if somebody's thinking about becoming an architect, is there a type of persona you think they would be like, would be the best person to say, yeah, I can see you as an architect? Because it's not always just artistic ability. Like you said, it has. What would be some of the attributes you would say that, yeah, you make a good architect?
I think somebody that's very inquisitive and somebody that likes to ask a lot of questions, because architecture is about that. Like opposite to engineering, like I was saying before. Listen, there are different solutions to a design problem, but as architects, we tend to always be questioning, how can I do this better?
Yeah.
Or like I used to say, and sometimes I still do. I leave a design that I think is perfect, and I've already worked it out. And and if it survives the night and I still like it in the morning, then I know that I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because you may come back the next day and look at it and say, there's a lot more that I can improve here. So So I think that somebody that has that personality, that I think that nurtures creativity. If you are the type that settles easily and you think that you found the design, found the solution, I think that it's going to be a lot harder. You're going to have to learn a lot more. Some people are more natural than others.
Yeah.
I think that you definitely can learn through proper mentorship. But spend a day in an architectural office. That's what I tell some of friends that have kids that want to go into architecture. I said, have them write a list of what they like about architecture, and then send them to the office or send them to somebody else's office. Have them spend a day, at the office and see how their list actually compares to what they see. So
That's good. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
And any other courses you would say beforehand if somebody wants to get into architecture that you found most useful? Like besides the architectural course, but there's something that was like, I'm glad I took that, or maybe something else that might stand out.
I think anything that has to do with craftsmanship, like woodworking, was pretty interesting to me because it has the attention to detail, right? Like when you start working at that level of detailing something, it's very helpful in architecture as well.
Never thought of that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's the details, right?
Yeah, it's all the
And
details.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
and that's available in every high school, I think.
Yeah, we used to have it shop, right?
Yeah.
So now we're just wrapping up. So if somebody wants to find you, what's the best way? Your website is probably the best way for them to reach out?
Yes, we have an info link on the website. We've
And what's the
shortened it
website
to
name?
unfolded.ca. Actually, Architecture Unfolded, because it starts with an A. It's an easy hit on
Yeah.
Google when you look us up.
Yeah.
Look for architects. I think we're one of the first ones to come up on page 1.
So guys, if you want to reach out to Eduardo, I've seen you got to see his website, all the designs, and we won't tell you his address, but if he ever wants to share some pics with you, like I absolutely love the design and beautiful pool in the backyard. But yeah, so thanks again for coming.
My pleasure.
If you guys like what you heard, or you have any questions for us, or any topics you want to talk about, Owen and I always stress this over and over again. Please reach out. You can always DM me on Instagram at davidvichinelli_realtor. You can always like or comment on the Instagram or the YouTube pages, and like and share with us if you'd like what you're the content you're hearing. We love to hear from you. Thanks again for episode 92, and we're hopefully getting closer and closer to the
thanks for having
100. Thanks, Eduardo.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.